Take one, action. Hello, welcome. Today we are doing the mid-year book freakout tag, and this is just a couple of questions that is kind of popular in the book community on YouTube, and it's 13 questions to just kind of get a little idea of the first half of the year. I'm wondering if I could find one of these for the end of the year, because like how great would that be? But I only ever see people do this in the middle of the year. Should I make my own? Anyways, I'm really excited. We're going to talk about some of the best books, worst books, and what's been going on in my reading. Let's get to it. Okay, the first question is, what is the best book you've read so far in 2024? This one was hard for me because I feel like I definitely have had, I think I've had like 4 or 5-star books this year. And I could literally name them off the top of my head because it's so little. It's like First Light Winds, Magnolia Parks, Funny Story, Our Wives Under the Sea, and I think that's it. And I loved all of those for different reasons, but it was kind of hard for me to pick like a best book of the year because I don't know, like they're 5-star reads for sure, but do they compare to all the other 5-star books that I've read? I don't think so. In general, I would say that this reading year has been kind of mid, and I think part of that is because I've been focusing really heavily on reading down my physical TBR, and that means that I'm just forcing myself to read books even though I'm not maybe in the mood for them, which is maybe unfair to the books because I'm not gonna enjoy it if I'm not gonna enjoy it as much if I'm not in the mood for it. And I feel like the books that I have given 5 stars, they were like, oh, this is surprising, I actually enjoyed this. Anyways, I've decided to choose of my 5-star reads First Light Winds by Ashley Elston. This book is about a girl named Evie Porter, and basically she works for this dude named Mr. Smith. He gives her a location and an identity, and he's like, get some info for me, go undercover, whatever. So she's undercover with this dude, and she's kind of like, oh, wait a minute, I kind of like this life that I'm living right now. It sucks that I'm not actually Evie Porter. And you know, then basically she's just trying to get ahead of her past. Things get a little crazy, and I chose this book because it just gave me lots of feelings, and I don't know if they were good feelings because the feelings that I had were definitely anxiety, but I just felt that anxiety so intensely. Like I was like having a crisis. I thought maybe I was anxious about something else that was going on at that time, but no, it was this book. This book really had me on the edge of my seat, which is what thrillers are supposed to do, and thus I'm picking it as the best book I've read so far this year. Not very confidently, but we're choosing it. Let's move on. All right. I'm kind of cheating with this one again too. The question is, what is the best sequel you've read so far in 2024? And I will say that I don't think any of the sequels I've read have been like fantastic. Like for example, last year I read Vengeful by Schwab, and I gave that 5 stars, and it's a sequel, which is insane. So I guess I might be judging from like those expectations, but thus far I haven't had a sequel that I've given more than 3 stars, except for I've been reading Alice in Borderland, and I will say that these are mangas, so I guess it's a little bit different, but it counts. Mangas count, okay? And I read volume 2 this year. It was like one of the first books I read this year, and my jaw was on the floor. I gave this book 4 stars because I literally was just, something happened at the end of volume 1, and I was like, oh my god, this is so shocking. There's no way that I could possibly be shocked more than what I already was. And then I was shocked more at the end of volume 2. So that being said, I think volume 2 was really good, and every single book in this series, I'm holding up volume 9, but I'm up to volume 5. I don't have 6, 7, or 8. I kind of pre-ordered this one thinking I would be up to this when I got it, and I wasn't. Anyways, that being said, I've given every single volume 1 through 5 of this series 4 stars. It's just amazing, and they have a live action version on Netflix that I've been kind of watching along. It's so good. Question number 3 is, what is a new release book that you want to read and you haven't yet? And for that, I pick Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. If you know, you know. This is an auto-buy author for me. I'm obsessed with her. I'm obsessed with everything she writes. I think that I love the like academia vibes that she has. And she's kind of been moving away from that lately, which was a chance, except she's killing it. All right, so whenever Ali Hazelwood writes, I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna read it. So Not in Love is about a girl named Rue, and she works in like food science. So we are still kind of like in the academia vibes because she works in a lab, I think. Anyways, the company that she works for, I think it's a startup, and Eli, he works for another company who's basically trying to take him down. And the two of them find each other attracted to each other. They get into this like no strings attached situation, which they are saying is going to end by the time that one of their companies prevails. So they're kind of like each other's rivals, but you know, sleeping with the enemy type situation. And yeah, basically there's a deadline on this situationship, and it's when one of their companies prevails. And I don't know if I'm into forbidden love, but I guess we'll find out. All right, the next question is one that I'm so excited for. This is actually the easiest one to answer. It's, what is your most anticipated read for the second half of the year? And I have 2. Okay, I'm just too excited about both of these. The first one is coming out in September. This is the sequel to The House in the Cerulean Sea. It's called Somewhere Beyond the Sea. Yes, I do have an early copy on my Kindle. So I'm really excited. This is like one of my favorite books of all time. This book is like a warm hug. It's about Linus Baker, who works for the department in charge of magical youth, and he gets summoned by extremely upper management. Yes, it sounds silly, and that's exactly what this book is. It's like so silly and cute, and I love it so much. Basically, he is summoned to go, he like checks in on orphanages that oversee magical children. So he gets summoned to do like this top secret like visit by extremely upper management, and he goes to this island to visit kind of like the most dangerous, mysterious figures. That's all I can say without writing it. It's just so freaking cute and adorable, and I love this book with all my heart, and I can't wait for book 2, which I was not expecting there to be a book 2. This book is fantastic and wonderful and amazing without a second one, and I really hope that the second one does it justice and does not ruin it forever, because I will be very upset with you, TJ Klune. We have high expectations. Meet them. And then the other book that I'm so excited, it's actually coming out in like, I think 4 days, which counts, okay? It counts. It's Tangled Up in You by Christina Lauren. I have no idea what this book is about other than it is very clearly a reimagining of Tangled. And I'm a Disney adult, so you know I'm gonna be excited. And the best part about this and the reason that I'm so excited for it is because I was scrolling on Threads and I found out that this is actually part of a 4-book series called the Meant to Be series, I believe. And basically they had 4 different authors each write a retelling of a different Disney movie. So there's Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella, Tangled by Christina Lauren, and Under the Sea, The Little Mermaid. Yes, almost forgot. Anyways, I just lost my marbles when I found out that there are 3 other books that are coming out with this. Like, literally. And I know that this is coming out before the end of June, but it counts because it's past this video and I'm excited for it. I love being a Disney adult. All right, question number 5 is, what is the biggest disappointment thus far this year? And this is easy for me. This was probably the first book I read this year. And let's see. Okay, it's the second book I read this year. Sanctuary of the Shadow by Aurora Asher. I bought this book, not gonna lie, because it's pretty. And it was giving magical circus. So this is about Haro, and she basically is living in the circus that's kind of like a refugee for certain elemental magical beings such as herself. And she finds that the circus is a sanctuary for her. It's a safe place, and everything is just kind of going the way that she needs it to go as a disguise until this dude arrives, and then all of a sudden everything changes. Basically, there's like something dark about him. He's like, his existence and like presence there threatens her, you know, just way of being, way of life and safety. And then you know, some no romancy ensues. Personally, I did not enjoy the writing style of this book at all. It was very cringy. I felt that there was a certain character in this book that made me really angry and upset, because it was just, this person was just a certain way for no reason, like just because. And I think that perhaps they thought they were being clever by including this character, and it didn't feel clever. It felt like purposeless and poorly done. And also the romance was really cringy, which I think I already said, but I just wanted to elaborate on that point. And yes, I kept this book because, like I said, it is really pretty. However, it was not for me. I stand by, this is still the worst book I've read this year. Sorry. Question 6 is the biggest surprise, and I gave this book 4 stars, but the reason I say it's the biggest surprise, like in a good way, I'm taking this as surprise in a good way, is that I had absolutely no interest in reading this book. I read the synopsis and I was like, don't think so. I offered this book to my friend because I got it in a book subscription box, and then she was like, why don't you just give it a try? And the reason I gave it a try is because I was doing Winterween and I needed a book with a witch, and I didn't have one, but I did have a book with an alchemist, and it was this book. So I decided to try to use it for the prompt, and I figured I'd just give it to my friend when I was done. But then I read it and I was obsessed. The Scarlet Alchemist by Kylie Lee Baker. So how to describe this book? Basically, my girl Zelon, she wants to be an alchemist for the royal family, and they have a competition every year. It's like some trials that the alchemists across the land have to get through in order to become the royal alchemist, or one of the royal alchemists, who make like gold for the royal family and whatever. And then she meets this dude on the street, and she's kind of finally given the chance to go through with these trials. And it's really interesting because in her home life, like before starting these trials, she's kind of like really poor, and she makes a living off of like resurrecting the dead for others, which is kind of a forbidden thing for alchemists to do. And kind of comes in handy because she gets to the trials and things are much more dangerous, and something is a lurking. And this was really friggin' good. I loved it so much. All right, the next question is a new favorite author. It's either debut author or new to you. I'm gonna pick someone that's neither of those because I read a book by them last year. However, I feel that this year I kind of just really got into the Christina Lauren groove. I've read 3 books by Christina Lauren this year. I read In a Holidays in like February. For what reason, I don't know. I was in a Christina Lauren mood. And then I also read The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren, which was amazing. And then I read The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren, and I gave all of these books 4 stars. And before this, I had only read The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, which I really loved and I really thought was really funny, but for some reason I never had the thought to like, let's read something else by them. And this year I had that feeling, and I'm so happy. And now I think I might be on a mission to read their entire backlist because they ate and left no crumbs. Okay. Question number 8. Who is your new fictional crush? I'm gonna fully lean into my cougar era because he's definitely like way younger. But if I were still, you know, young, I would definitely have a crush on Thomas from The Maze Runner. I cannot explain it, and honestly, it might be because of the actor that plays him in the movie. I think he's just Gorgiana, but I'm obsessed with this series. I can't believe I never read it before this year. The Maze Runner essentially is about a guy named Thomas. He wakes up in like a box that's like lifted up into the middle of this maze. And every day the maze runners go through the maze trying to figure out a way out. And I honestly have no explanation for why I love Thomas so much. I think it might just be the fact that he cares so much about everyone around him. The way that he like protects Chuck, who's like the little chunky dude. That's how I picture him, at least. Like, he's like the little chunky guy that everyone kind of like ostracizes, and Thomas is like this, like, he just kind of, he's kind of an alpha, but he takes Chuck in, and he's so sweet. And you know, he just has his ish together, and he cannot be stopped by anything, and thus we love Thomas. All right, question number 9 is, who's your newest favorite character? And for this, I'm gonna go with my girl Emily Henry's character, Miles. And funny story, I feel like I somehow definitely had to slip an Emily Henry book in here because I'm obsessed with her. I love everything she does. She's an autobiography author for me, and in this book specifically, I felt like Miles was just like the unlikely male main character. He does not have his life together. He's not like the, you know, guy in finance, 6'5", blue eyes. That's not him. Okay. And I kind of love that about him. Like, he's just kind of like the unsuspecting sweet guy, and with like his heart broken, but he somehow like keeps going. And I love the like small town vibes and how he knows all the little old ladies and they all love him. And like, I don't know, he's just kind of like cute and nerdy and unsuspecting and so adorable. And I can't put him as my crush because my dude wears Crocs. That's like his thing, and that's not cute. But he's sweet, and I really loved him. And I loved that he likes like how quirky the main female main character in this book is. So we stand Miles. We love him. He's the cutest woodest ever. All right, the next question is a book that made you cry, and the answer to that is none. I have not cried yet. It's really hard for me to cry with a book. Like, I think I have a total of like 3 books ever that have made me like maybe shed a tear, and of those, only one made me actually like sob. The other ones, it's just like, okay, I shed one little tear came out. So, and I could literally name those, and none of them were this year. Anyways, I will show you though a book that made me really sad and really emotional, and that's Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This is essentially about a girl named Leah who comes back super changed after going on a mission under the sea in a submarine. We all live in a yellow submarine. Yeah. So Leah goes down in a yellow submarine. It's not yellow. I don't know why I said that. It's just a submarine. And she comes back and she's like totally different. And this kind of like explores the changes she's going through and her relationship with her wife, Miri. I almost got confused because the book I'm currently reading right now, After the Forest, the main character, there's a character named Mira, but the character in this one is Miri. Anyways, this book, I was kind of bored in the middle, but the ending was just so emotional that I ended up giving it 5 stars. It just made me so sad. Unsuspecting book, to be honest. I feel like the lighting is changing because the day is getting started and it's getting brighter, but bear with me. The next question is a book that made you happy, and I'm gonna pick a weird / different selection for this question, and that book is going to be Mythos by Stephen Fry. And part of this could be the narrator because I listened to the audio for part of this book, and the narrator, it's just really funny. He sounds like the dudes who narrate the beginning of a Christmas movie, you know, those like, once upon a time in a town called Haro. I don't know, that like that Santa Claus-ish voice that they do in the beginning and then at the end when it all wraps up. That's what the narrator sounded like. Anyways, Mythos is kind of a reimagined like telling of the original Greek mythologies. So like these are like the actual stories, but he kind of tells it to you, you know, like he's like reading you a bedtime story, and he is kind of sarcastic and like kind of funny and calling them out on their BS. And I thought it was so good, and I love Greek mythology, and I've been wanting to like learn about the real myths, because I've only read retellings, and I can kind of pick up on certain things that are the actual myths just based on how they are repeated across the retellings, but nothing compares to actually knowing it. And I think that he does that in a really funny way in this book, so I enjoyed it. Then question number 12, what is the most beautiful book that you've bought this year or received? I think I purchased this last year, but it arrived this year and I read it this year, so that's what counts. And I think it's the whole entire series, but I'll hold up this beautiful version, The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. This is the first book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, and these are just, they look so regal with like the gold foil, and they're just so pretty. They also have sprayed edges, but all the sprayed edges together make a map of Camp Half-Blood from the book, so that's exciting for me. And I will say that this one maybe doesn't have like the best ones from the thing, but like the end papers are so freaking gorgeous. Look at that. Oh, that is gorgeous. Okay, and even like the inside of these, they're just so magical. I'm obsessed. This is a purchase. I have no regrets spending all my coins on this, like my life savings. Lastly, question number 13. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? So obviously I had those anticipated releases that I mentioned before, and I also have a couple of arcs that I got that I am really excited about that definitely need to get read by the end of the year. But my top priority right now, as I think I've mentioned over and over and over again on my channel, is that I'm trying to read my entire physical TBR, and I have about 10 books left. So one, I don't think I'm going to show you all 10 books. I have Guilt by Raven Kennedy, Roundabout by Fong Nguyen, The Penguin Book of Mermaids. I have Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. I have The Crimson Moth by Kristen Ciccarelli, I believe. And I have Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales by the Brothers Grimm. And the reason I chose to hold up this book is because these are like the original fairy tales, like Little Red Riding Hood, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Cinderella, Hansel and Gretel, Rapunzel, Rumpelstiltskin, etc, etc, etc. Like a lot of like the stories that we grew up as children seeing them reimagined into Disney movies and stuff like that. So I recently read The Little Mermaid by Christian Hans Andersen. That literally blew my mind. Like, people talk about the stories are much darker, the originals, but that was cray cray. So hopefully this will be just as interesting. I'm actually right now reading After the Forest, which is a retelling of Hansel and Gretel. So I think it would be interesting to then read the original and see how that fares and how different they are from the original to the movie and story that we know from Disney to a 2023 retelling. Or 2024. Did this come out earlier this year? Maybe not. Anyways, I'm excited for this book. I'm excited for the rest of my reading year and for it to get way better, because I'm going to finally be able to just read a book, purchase it, and get to it and enjoy what I'm reading, because I can read based on my mood. I hope y'all enjoyed this. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. If you want to join the family, hit that subscribe button. I will see you all when I see you next. Bye.